What's up, everybody, and welcome in. This is FST. It's Fantasy Sports Today. My name's Matt Striker. His name is Joe Pisapia, and this is the place for those that want to dominate, whether it be the season-long fantasy, straight-up wagering, getting ready for the playoffs, whatever it is, we've got you covered. At SportsGrid and at SportsGrid TV, those are the social media handles. Get in, join the conversation. We're going to be taking your questions a bit later on. Joey P, my man, come on in. Always a pleasure to see your handsome, smiling face. Look at that. This guy, what'd you say? You were Blue Steel before there was Blue Steel?
That's right.
Happy New Year, my friend. What's up?
I invented that, not Zoolander. Hello and Happy New Year to you, my friend Matthew Striker, and to everybody out there watching on SportsGrid Fantasy Sports Today. I have a question in return for the audience, which is, why are you playing in Week 18 if you are? Stop doing that. It's bad for you. It's no good. Players don't play. Players are hurt. Players are taking halves off, games off, and some other players just aren't playing for anything. So therefore, they're just moving ahead to the playoffs, and it's just a terrible way to decide your leagues. But if you are one of those lunatic people who has made bad decisions in life, like Matthew Striker has, and that's why he's here with me every Sunday morning, then we are going to help you regardless, because we're not going to judge. Well, that's not true. Silently, I'm going to judge everybody who's playing Week 18, but we're going to help them anyway, Matt. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Not that each and every week isn't, but this is a fun one because if you don't know, Joe's quite a fun guy when the chains are off, if you will. So I'm expecting a real fun show today. All right, Joe, let's start with, did you think that the games yesterday were fun? If you were a 49er fan, certainly not. If you're a Panther fan, I don't know. Joe, take it away here. What'd you take from yesterday's games?
Well, I could take the same thing away, which is Sunday last week of the season should be Sunday last week of the season, right? Like, have everybody just play Sunday the way they used to, because it was kind of fun to be scoreboard watching and everything happening. These standalone games, these Thursday games, these holiday games, these Saturday games every week, it gets everybody out of their rhythm. And I think once again, you kind of saw what happens there. There's less time for guys to recover. There's all sorts of issues going on here. And obviously the weather had a big factor in that first game. We could start there. The Buccaneers finally came out with a W in a game that they should win, in a game that they were favored in a game at home. So I guess good on them. But do you really feel like they're not going to get bounced from the playoffs in the first round? I mean, I felt like either Carolina or Panthers or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would be in that scenario. But if you look back at the game, it's all the same stuff, which is you watch Bryce Young struggle in some of these big spots. He struggles, obviously, some of the size issues that he continues to deal with in the NFL level, which is something that every scout talked about and every pundit and analyst like me talked about as well. It shows up in these spots, right? Being able to sit in that pocket long term, being able to see down the field, to see over some of these linemen, to make those kind of plays. It is a different game than is at college, even at the high college level. And I think that the Carolina Panthers will have an interesting offseason here where, do they want to bring in a better competition veteran than Andy Dalton to compete with him next year? And I think that's going to be fascinating to see. I still think Dave Canales is a good coach. I think they need a lot of help on the defensive side of the football still. But, before we do too much postmortem on the Carolina Panthers, look, you also had Kate Otten with a big day, 7 receptions for 94 yards and a touchdown. You had Bucky Irving with 26 carries and 85 yards. Obviously, the weather a big factor there, but mostly a lackluster game and some mistakes made because obviously the weather, a few moments in that game too, where weather really had a big impact on some of the moments there. But what was your big takeaway now that the Bucs got their W finally after weeks and weeks of waiting?
Well, before we came on the air, I was talking with our producer, Sam Y, the sports guy, and we were saying both how I had high hopes for Tampa before the season. I thought they were Super Bowl bound. And then someone made the point that once we get into the second season here, I think teams like Tampa and on the other side, teams like Buffalo, while they might not have a good regular season, can find that next gear and become viable options. Because Sam and I were talking about which teams could go to the Super Bowl. And then I had asked him about that Seattle-San Francisco game, and he was just raving about Seattle's defense. So when I turn it back to you, that's where I'd like to go. But overall, I do think that if Tampa can get in, a few things need to happen, as I understand it. I think, New Orleans needs to beat Atlanta, something to that effect. And if Tampa can get in, I think they get a new lease on life. And I think they could be, if they're healthy, they could be the team that we all thought that they were. And now is when it matters. Joe?
Yeah, I think you also look at the total here, 46 points combined between all of these games last night. Not exactly the NFL product I think everybody was hoping for on a Saturday standalone. And look, I get it. There was playoff seeding, there was playoff implications, and I understand the fall process and the money grab that we're trying to do here. But at the same time, the quality of the football at times was Okay. But look, what was more than okay was the Seattle defense, which continues to be fantastic. They've held down the 49ers now to 3 points in that game last night. And if you look at what that defense has done all year, people will say, well, I don't know how they're going to play on the road. Well, guess what? They played well on the road. I don't know how Sam Darnold's going to play in big spots with pressure. Sam Darnold's been okay in these spots. Has he been transcendent? Not necessarily. I mean, they only put up 13 points on a San Francisco defense. It's frankly not very good, but they stuck with the path to win this football game, and they have a smart head coach there. And I think, giving the ball to Ken Walker 16 times for 97, limiting some of the exposure you have there, JSN working, look, things were in a spot here with the 49ers where you heard a lot of 49er buzz, and some of my favorite people in the industry, including probably my very favorite, all of a sudden moved them after last week to number one in their power rankings. And I thought that was just ludicrous because the 49ers schedule is one of the easiest going into the season. We all knew that, and we all said 49ers will get back into the playoffs because of that schedule and how easy it is. Okay, now you bring in a real defense and a real team in the Seattle Seahawks, and you have to contend with them. And I think we saw the difference, and we think at this point they were weighed and measured and found wanting a little bit. And I think that is something that it's good for the Seattle Seahawks confidence going in. Obviously, these teams could meet again somehow in the playoffs. We'll keep an eye on how the seeding all works out. But the Seattle Seahawks have done everything they could to be that number one seed. They have earned that number one seed. Are the Rams a better football team on paper when healthy? Perhaps. But
Right.
You don't play the games on paper. You play them on the field. So I thought a tremendous effort by the Seattle defense and by the coaching staff to have a game plan, execute it, and basically just stunt anything that the 49ers could do offensively last night. It was really impressive.
Weighed and measured and found wanting. I've been found wanting many times, Joe. All right, what the people are wanting to know is who's in, who's out, who's playing. So let's move to the NFL injuries portion of this segment. Remember, when we come back, we'll be taking your questions. We'll do start sit. We're going to do waiver wire ads. We're going to be making you some money as well. But for right now, Joe, who's hurt? What's going on?
Yeah, right now you're dealing with a lot of injuries, which again, week 18, it's a long time in the NFL. So obviously these are going to impact anybody who's playing today. Blake Corum, obviously, not looking like a go in this one here for the Rams. So they have not much to play for. Now it's about just getting healthy for the playoffs. You got to get Devontae Adams healthy, another guy too with that hamstring injury. We're still waiting on word as of this morning on those guys, but they are tenuous at best. It feels like a situation where the Rams are going to just look ahead to the playoffs, realize that they're going to have to go on the road at some point and play better football, and they probably will. So don't take the Rams for granted. We're going to talk more about the Rams and some of these other teams in the NFC and what that picture looks like a little later in the program. Also, the Cowboys running back situation, it looks like no Javonte Williams today and no Malik Davis, who took over for him last week and had a great game where he had 20-plus carries and 100 yards on the ground. So Jaden Blue is going to be the guy against Big Blue and the New York Giants today. Now, Jaden Blue getting the workload is good, but there's better options out there. So if you're desperate for running back, sure, the full workload is there. But the full workload is not going to be there for guys like Jordan Mason today with Aaron Jones out. So that'll be interesting to see the choices that we have ahead of us. I would lean towards a guy like Mason, a guy like Jaden Blue. I think there's a reason why he was third on the depth chart and Malik Davis took over last week. And then Devon Achane, this is a huge one, too, for fantasy managers who are playing. Devon Achane's a guy that got you to fantasy championships. Right. And unfortunately, it looks like he is doubtful today against the New England Patriots. Already a tough matchup, already a tough scene, already a double-digit divide there in that game between the Pats and the Miami Dolphins. Miami having to travel into the cold of New England with a rookie quarterback on the road without their best offensive weapon. So a very tenuous situation there for them. Typically, I don't like those big 10, 12-point spreads, but you know what? Kind of feels right here, especially after watching Drake May surgically carve up the New York Jets last weekend. When we come back, we're going to take a look at that fantasy over-under. Who's going over? Who's going under? We'll tell you when we come back right here on FST.
Like Alabama, right? Is there a team that scores more than Alabama? No, right? but they're actually an under team over the last couple of years because their numbers are so high. You get these Americans in Queens College or Denver, who the hell's betting on them, right? No, but so the lines stay low. They're just like, no one's hopping all over them. But every time you see an Alabama game, you're betting over, but you're losing money because the numbers are so big.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He's out again. Anthony Davis is injured once again and is going to miss time with the Dallas Mavericks for a minor groin strain. Likely will miss a few games. And I don't even know what a few games is to Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis seems to always be missing time.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back into FST. It's Fantasy Sports. Today, Matt and Joe with you here. Sam Y, the sports guy behind the glasses, along with an excellent crew of folks just up and down the list here at SportsGrid. Hope you're having a good time because we are. Joey P, my friend, I think one of the reasons we're having such a good time is because we've been making some money. Right? Plain and simple. At the end of the day, it's what it's all about. And you've been a vital part of that. So thank you. Your 10% is in the mail, I promise. So let's continue on this trend here. For those that are new, I'll give Joe a situation, a scenario, and he'll tell me if it happens or not. Plain and simple. You find the best number if you like it, and you wager upon it. All right, Joe, here we go. It's Jackson Dart. 36.5 is the number. Rushing yards. Does he go over or under, and why?
I think he's going to go over in this one. The Dallas Cowboys defense is coming to town, and that Cowboys defense has given up a lot of yards to opposing offenses, period. And it is the last game of the season, and I know everybody wants to put Jackson Dart in bubble wrap, but this is not Jackson Dart's personality. That's not who he is as a player. Last week, we took the over in his rushing yards as well, and that turned out to be a very good situation for us. So when you're looking at the trend lines for Jackson Dart as well, he's gone over this number 3 of the last 5 games. The game where he didn't, like obviously against New England and then against Minnesota in a game that was just completely strange. And that Minnesota defense, very good. But last week, he had 48 rushing yards against the Las Vegas Raiders on the road. If you look at some of the home games as well, he was home against the Chargers. He went over this number. He was home against San Fran and went over this number. He was home against the Eagles in that big upset victory they had earlier this year, which seems like a lifetime ago. Can I just put that out there? Do you remember that? The Giants being the Eagles and everybody going, oh, this is so exciting. And Cam Scatterbo and Jackson Dart. A lifetime ago. It wasn't. It was this past season. So Jackson Dart, I think, to go over here in this one. Again, you can't change the player. Some of the passing yard numbers are a lot more difficult, I think, to bet on with him. But I think when you're looking at what he's going to do, and this Dallas Cowboys defense at this point too is it's done. It's over. You're going to look for a lot of potential overs, despite Saturday being lackluster. Sunday, you're going to get a lot of guys who are playing on the defensive side who have tickets booked to Cancun, who are looking to get out without getting hurt and not trying to make too many tackles. And I think Jackson Dart can take advantage of that with a Cowboys defense that has been very giving all season long to opposing quarterbacks for fantasy points. So I'll take the over here with Jackson Dart.
What do you think they do when they go to Cancun? You know what I mean? I mean, just imagine the rigors of an NFL season. And I don't want to get off on a rant here. And then you just get to lay down in the sun and have someone bring you drinks and food. It just must be amazing. God bless him. All right, let's go to another guy here. Drake May, 250.5 passing yards is a number. Does he go over or under, or why?
Well, I know a lot of people last week were concerned if he was going to go over his mark because, well, it's the New York Jets, and of course they're going to be up, and are we going to eventually, take Drake May out of this game? No, they're not. And he certainly did enough in this game where he put up a fair amount of points. So this one today, again, he's gone over this number every single week except that game in Buffalo, against Buffalo, week 15. So since week 8, he's gone over this number every single time.
So
I think this is his statement game. Well, yeah, but look, you're playing the Miami Dolphins. It's still an in-division opponent. You are jockeying for the number 1 seed here with the Denver Broncos. You're both playing in the 4 o'clock window. So, until the fourth quarter, you might not have an answer. And the way the Denver Bronco games have gone this year, yeah, they should just smash the Chargers. We all think that. So maybe things get different at halftime if Denver's up to a huge lead. But Mike Vrabel is an old school kind of guy. My guess is they're going to play these guys all the way through, do their best to try to get that number 1 seed. If they're falling short and late in the fourth quarter and Denver's up by a lot, then maybe you pull Drake May. But with the Miami defense being just mid-level all year, they did make some improvements. I want to give them credit. They were terrible at the beginning of the year. They did make some improvements, but you're not going to have Minkah Fitzpatrick. You're not going to have, guys who are, Devon Achane in this game. I think Quinn Ewers is going to have a hard time moving the football against that defense in the cold in New England. Sure. And I think Drake May have the ball in his hands a lot. So give me the over 250.5 for him.
All right, this next one comes from what I think is just going to be the game. If ever I would want Joe to live stream him watching a game, it's this next one. Baltimore will play Pittsburgh. Essentially, I believe the winner gets in. Lamar Jackson, 211.5 passing yards. That's a curious number, Joe. Talk to me here.
Yeah, look, I just don't know how healthy Lamar Jackson is. And I think that's something that none of us really know. So I'm going to take the under here. And you've seen this move in some markets to 209.5 too, which seems that people sort of are where I am and some of the sharper people who bet this earlier in the week. So I think the under here on the 211.5 is the way I'm going to go. And it's such a fascinating thing because the Baltimore Ravens have had so many opportunities in games that they should have won that they've lost. And then there's the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are in a lot of games this year where they should have lost, but they won. And if you've been watching all year in 2025, that should lead you to the conclusion that the Pittsburgh Steelers should win this game on Sunday Night Football. They shouldn't win it. They're going to be, without DK Metcalf, they're big, only one wide receiver that they can throw a ball to. Aaron Rodgers is 40-something years old, but they are at home. And I just feel like at the end of the day, that Mike Tomlin underdog story is going to be enough. And I just feel like at the very least, the Pittsburgh Steelers will cover and keep this game close. And although Derrick Henry had a spectacular game last week that knocked me out of my very most important league in the championship round, which I'm still bitter about, but that's okay. I'd rather lose by 100 than, lose by 1. I will tell you this. I mean, that should be the game script all year. But Derrick Henry, when he fumbles, all of a sudden Harbaugh has him on the sideline. That's very disconcerting. They should just hand the ball to Derrick Henry another 25 times and let Derrick Henry just be Derrick Henry in the wintertime. But unfortunately, I don't think they're going to stick to that game plan, especially with Lamar back. So I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to find themselves on the outside of the playoffs looking in, and the Pittsburgh Steelers in another game that they should not win, end up finding a way to win. That's my take on this game. We'll see if it comes to fruition.
It's going to be awesome. For those that don't know, Joe absolutely loves Aaron Rodgers. Hit him up on social media and talk to him about it. All right, this next player here does have some incentives, and actually I'm getting word from Sam that a couple of times we're going to, on the other side here, we're going to do some incentive stuff, find a good way to make some money. Who needs to do stuff? Tony Pollard's one of those guys. So 71.5 of the rushing yards here. Does he go over or under, and why?
Yeah, it's a tough matchup for Tony Pollard, but I am going to take the over here. He needs 66 yards here for a big bonus. We'll talk about how much money that could be for him. So they've been feeding this beast for the last few weeks. He's had a couple games over 100 yards. So despite the tough matchup, I do think Tony Pollard can get over the 71.5. So we'll keep a close eye on that. We're also keeping a close eye on the big boards in the market too. Who is going to represent the NFC and the AFC in the Super Bowl as Week 18 is coming to a close? We'll take a look at those numbers and get back to you right after this.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. Unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also say healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. We're just having such a good time here. We hope you are as well. Joe Pisapia, Matt Striker, Sam Y, the sports guy behind the glass. We keep him behind the glass because he's the producer, not because he's, unstable, although I think he is. It is time now.
I think maybe it's 50-50.
It could be 6'7", 6'7".
Nick Cage
That's not a
ear
thing.
for a second there. Like that's what I was thinking. So it was very Nick Cage-esque on the return. So
Sam Y, our producer, is in our ears, and he gives us very throaty counts just to try to crack us up as we come in. And congratulations, Sam. You've done it. You've stolen a minute and a half from this segment. You're great. All right. With the time that we have left, though, let's make people some money. And this is a fun one, actually. So thank you for putting this together, everybody. It's the Market Watch. We're going to look at who's going to win the AFC Championship. We're going to look at who's going to win the NFC Championship. You know what that means? Let's go to the Super Bowl. All right, here we go. Let's go from the AFC side. Denver at plus 280. New England at plus 460, Buffalo at plus 500. I'm going to stop right there, Joe. I'll say one thing and then give it to you. I think that Buffalo, when they get into the playoffs, are still dangerous. That's a nice number. If they can arrive and overcome New England and Denver, there's something to be said here. Take it away.
You mean the Buffalo Josh Allens? Is that who you're referring to? The Buffalo Josh Allens?
But in the playoffs, it could be a different,
Well, look, Josh Allen's capable of taking over a game. We know that. So that's where it becomes special. This is a really interesting spot here for the AFC because you could argue that the hottest teams coming into the playoffs might very well be the Jaguars and the Texans. Jaguars have played really good football, maybe a little untested. Houston Texans, that defense is ferocious. Defense travels. Some suspect offensive line play. That's an issue. There's been moments here in the second half of the year where the Texans offense has played better football. But credit to Liam Cohn here, new head coach. Credit to Mike Vrabel, first year here with the New England Patriots. Obviously not a new head coach, but second time around the block, but first time here with the New England Patriots. Two teams in the playoffs, right, with new coaches, which is tough to do. And teams that were last place last year that ended up in first place this year in their division. So credit to those guys. It happens every year that a team goes from worst to first. So that'll be fascinating next year to kind of play this game as well and see what teams finish last that could completely turn things around in 2025. I mean, I think the Giants look like a great team that could possibly turn things around very quickly as well. That would be my early look into that because they have a franchise quarterback. They have Malik Neighbors. They have Scadaboo coming back. They got a lot of pieces and some good defensive personnel too. But the Denver Broncos are the favorite for a reason. My only concern with the Denver Broncos is that sometimes the offense allows, teams to kind of hang around there a little bit. Defense always plays well, but the offense sometimes doesn't wake up to the fourth quarter. That's a little dangerous of a scenario. Right. If you're the Denver Broncos, I don't think you want to see a Houston Texans at any point in the playoffs. I just don't want to see that defense, right? They are so ferocious. They're playing with house money. They continue to be the underdogs despite the fact that they've been in the playoffs 2 years in a row before. The New England Patriots, I think, are the best unit in terms of team, and nobody's playing the position of quarterback better right now than Drake May. I think we can agree on that. He's likely to be the MVP. That's what the Vegas odds are telling us after last week too. And Matthew Stafford, unlikely to contribute this week. So the New England Patriots at plus 460, I think are, again, this is not a homer pick at all. This is a pick based on quarterback, defense, and the coach. And the coach was a guy that was getting to the playoffs and getting to championship games with the Tennessee Titans. And that roster is basically Derrick Henry and a bunch of guys. Okay. So now that he's got the New England Patriots and he's got a guy like Drake May, it's going to be a really interesting thing to say. I do think it's top heavy. I do think it's between Denver and New England to get there, and you're getting some good odds on both. So that would be my investment on those two. If I'm going to invest in a long shot, you're right. The Buffalo Bills, because of Josh Allen's ability to take over a game, very interesting. But I just don't see that defense holding anybody down, and they haven't been able to all year. So I'm going to go on to those teams. But a fun playoff roster nonetheless for the AFC.
All right, let's move on to the NFC. I think the Seahawks seem as the foregone conclusion at plus 250, but the Rams are there at plus 310, the Niners at plus 440, and don't forget about the Eagles, plus 490. Joe?
Yeah, the Eagles are tough because all year we've watched them struggle offensively to really find a rhythm, and I think they've just looked off all season. Do they flip the switch in the playoffs? Maybe. I think maybe the Eagles should get more respect, and if there's a team that I could see kind of upsetting through the way and just continuing to do what they've been doing, which is finding ways to just get W's, maybe it is the Eagles at the end of the day. And if it is the Eagles at the end of the day, I do believe the Denver Broncos or the Patriots have a good chance of winning. Seattle Seahawks on the other side here, I think, deserve a lot of credit. They're not getting enough of it, but I'd be buying back into the Rams. I think a healthy Rams with basically what they're going to have right now is a little bye week mini built in. I think it's going to be really interesting to buy back in on them. And I think that Matthew Stafford, one last hurrah, Sean McVay, that's going to be real tough to beat. We'll be back here on SportsGrid with more FSP.
Crosby has now left the team, by the way. He's pissed. Anyway, you look at he's angry. He wants to play. He doesn't like what they're doing here. There's all sort of speculation.
This might be the final straw, George, for him there. Like, I don't know why he stays. Yeah, I know. The thing is, he's got a Raider freaking tattoo. Like, the guy loves the Raiders. Like, he really does love playing for the Raiders. But and now, like you said, he's not happy about this.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. But sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry. The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. Thanks for partying with us. Matt and Joe with you here. Sam the sports guy behind the glass. It's time now for Start Sit. This is where you are so vital. At SportsGrid, at SportsGrid TV, at SportsGrid TV. Those are social media handles. We've been monitoring them since we came on the air, and this is what we have so far trying to help you guys out. It's time for Start Sit. Remember, you're talking to Joe Pisapia, the author of the Fantasy Black Book. Okay, these aren't opinions. These are fact-based realities. Joseph, Kyle Malange for Chicago versus Detroit, or Dylan Sampson, Cleveland at Cincinnati. I know it's a Week 18 conversation, but let's have it.
Yeah, look, Dylan Sampson, the guy that obviously in the passing game of PPR leagues has some value when he is catching the football, right? He's got a good matchup here against Cincinnati Bengals, a terrible defense, but I'm going to lean towards Kyle Monangai here. Monangai in this game against Detroit, I think you're still looking at the Chicago Bears here with some seeding to play for, when it matters to them. And of course, it's always going to matter for Ben Johnson when he's playing the Detroit Lions. And this time around, he's got him in his own court. And I think Ben Johnson wants to beat the Detroit Lions. And I think the Lions will try to be competitive in this game. And I'm going to go with Kyle Monangai. I think he's got more touchdown equity. So Week 18, that's what I'm going to be playing for. So that's my choice. Now, Matt, before we get to the next one, we mentioned Nicolas Cage in our last segment there leading in. I want to put you into a choice you have to make. You got Face on. You got ready? You got Face Off on TNT. You got Con Air on TBS at the same time. Which one are you watching? Because that's a real scenario that could happen just this Sunday.
It absolutely could. Can I opt for the one that has the flying Elvises in it? Which movie is that? It's neither of the two.
Oh.
You know what it is. It's
Honeymoon in Vegas. I almost said Leaving Las
Honeymoon in
Vegas, but that's weird because if you put those two movies together, then he's like battling alcoholism and it's not nearly as entertaining of a rom-com.
Gosh, I don't know where we're going with this, but I guess I'll choose the one on TBS. Yeah, look at this. I'm asking Joe Start Sits, and he's asking me Start Sits on Nicolas Cage movies. This is where
the correct answer is Con Air. I just want you to know the correct answer is Con Air.
Part of me. What if I told you I never saw either? Is that a conversation?
Oh, no.
Oh my gosh, look at him. He's taking it back. I've urinated in his Cheerios.
Summer of Nicolas Cage. How did you avoid these two movies? That's what I don't understand.
All right, let's have a conversation about the Buffalo Bills and Khalil Shakir against the Jets, or Christian Watson in Green Bay at Minnesota. And if you can work in your prognostication for both of these teams in their playoff runs, I'd appreciate that as well, especially Green Bay. They're banged up, but let's go.
You got to see Con Air. It's an important movie. As a dude, you got to see Con Air. It's a dude movie.
Got it.
Yeah. Face Off also fun, but silly, But in this one, I think this is easy. I don't think this is a silly question at all. But Christian Watson, not going to have a lot of guys playing around him. He's dealing with a chest injury. He might not even play today. Jordan Love's not playing, which is interesting because Malik Willis is going to get another audition tape here for himself. So that's going to be fascinating because he's going to be a free agent, and he's played pretty well here. Mobile quarterback, got a decent arm. Malik Willis could be a guy brought into a couple different organizations to push another quarterback or even maybe get a chance at a starting job. So I'm going to go with Khalil Shakir with the Jets defense that's completely quit. Now, look, I understand the folly here and the concern, which is, the Bills are kind of stagnant. What are they going to really do? Khalil Shakir has got a bonus we're going to talk about coming up. So I want the guys playing for money. A certain amount of receptions here today could make Khalil Shakir a richer man. So I'm going to go ahead and look for Josh Allen to try to help out his guy here a little bit. Christian Watson, again, an explosive wide receiver, but injuries continue to just derail his career, which is very unfortunate. We'll see what the Packers do when they get into the playoffs there.
All right, good tease by you, because on the other side of the break, we're going to tell you the players that have incentives built into their contracts. It kind of is almost like insider trading. I don't want to say that too much, but let's move on here. Mark Andrews, Baltimore at Pittsburgh. This is going to be a brawl. Or Chigokonkwo, Tennessee at Jacksonville.
Yeah, Okonkwo is an interesting guy. I think these guys are right on the fringe here of tight end one. And if you look at what's happened here, you've had a good run here lately of Chigokonkwo, where he's had back-to-back games with a touchdown. He's got 9 catches in his last 2 games just under 100 yards in those 2 games. And the problem with Mark Andrews is he's completely touchdown dependent, and we're dealing with Lamar Jackson. Now, if you ask me who has the best touchdown equity, it's probably Mark Andrews, but I just don't know how much Mark Andrews is going to work in this offense anymore at this stage. So I'm going to take Chigakonkwo because against the Jacksonville Jaguars here, another team that's, already playoff bound, not too much to play for here at this stage. Chigakonkwo, I think when you look at what Cam Ward has done down the stretch, which is vastly improved, right? He is really starting to figure things out. He's a hardworking kid. We talked about him. He's in a bad situation, a place that doesn't necessarily grow great quarterbacks. And he's going to have a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator next year. So hopefully that will help him. But that cycle of new coach, new OC every year, bad team, it doesn't end up working out very well. And just ask Sam Darnold how that goes, right? And hopefully, eventually he finds himself the way Sam Darnold has. But for Cam Ward, it's going to be an adjustment in 2026, no doubt about it. But I'm going to go with Chigakonkwo here in this one over Mark Andrews just for the possible volume. And in terms of touchdown equity trends, Okonkwo might actually be the better guy on paper now that we're looking deeper on it.
I like it. All right. Great job as always, Joey P. Let's move on here. Next is a quarterback question. Jared Goff, the indoor cat at Soldier Field, anything but indoors, or Jacoby Brissett, who's been really good, better than serviceable against the Rams.
Yeah, you nailed it here, Matt. You said it. Jared Goff outside in the cold. No, thank you. I'm not going to look for that. I'm trying to find like the best spot here where you can even go back to this season where it was, but he hasn't played a lot of outdoor games in cold weather this year. Like the road games for him were like the Rams, Washington early in the year, which he played very well. But then against Philly, obviously he struggled. He only had 13 fantasy points. He was QB 17. But at this stage here, I'm going to go with Jacoby Brissett. You're looking at the Arizona Cardinals. Again, not much to play for, but you're looking for the Rams who are going to be sitting a lot of guys. So I think Brissett's going to have a lot of opportunities. I think Brissett's the way I want to go. And he's also played very well. And he's put a lot of good tape together for the Arizona Cardinals or another team. We know Kyler Murray, wasn't going to play the rest of the season. What Kyler Murray trade proposals look like this offseason, where he lands, will be fascinating. It's not a great quarterback class coming out this year. Fernando Mendoza is going to be at the top of it. Maybe Dante Moore is going to be there as well. But outside of those two guys, and those two guys I think have some question marks around them, there's no slam dunk guy this year. There's no Trevor Lawrence. There's nobody that you look at and go, yep, that's the guy. That's the number one. It's no Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May kind of class. This ain't it. So Jacoby Brissett, he could end up in a spot, let's say, like the Minnesota Vikings. If the Vikings had Jacoby Brissett playing steady quarterback all year with that defense the way they played the last half of the season, imagine where the Vikings might be. They might be a playoff fringe team right now. So I think Brissett certainly did a good job of getting himself into that conversation next year to be somewhere else. Maybe it's a Carolina. Maybe that's the guy they bring in to push Bryce Young. Jacoby Brissett's going to be somewhere next year with a chance to play every week. So we'll see where that landing spot is in 2026. And this is another week where you can put some good tape together for that potential.
Food for thought for the hungry mind. Thank you so much, Joey P. Don't put your spoon away just yet. We have another one here, and it's a defense question in a game that has implications for a team that isn't involved in it. Atlanta, their defense against New Orleans, and Tampa's going to be watching that game, or Steelers defense against Baltimore. Steelers need to win this thing, man.
They do. But again, there's always that danger you're facing there as well of Derrick Henry, right? What can Derrick Henry do for you? Atlanta Falcons coming off a 16-point performance against the Los Angeles Rams. They are at home here in this one against the New Orleans Saints. So that's a good matchup there for them potentially. Now, Tyler Shucks played very well, but Chris Olave banged up from this game. They're down to Audric Estime, who's played, again, New Orleans continues to play well, despite some of the injuries and despite the issues. I told you last week, I want to write in the New Orleans Saints. I don't want the Panthers in the playoffs. I don't want the Buccaneers in the playoffs. Give me the Saints. I feel like they've earned it. Like they've played some good football here down the stretch. But Pittsburgh Steelers at home against Baltimore in a very excited state. I will go with that crowd. I'll go with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, by the way, are farther down on the depth chart this week in the rankings for defenses. But regardless, I'll take the Steelers and hope that they can show up and show out in a very important game here where the winner moves on and the loser goes home. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of those incentives we talked about earlier. Who can get paid in Week 18? We'll tell you when we come back right after this.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry. The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
He's out again. Anthony Davis is injured once again and is going to miss time with the Dallas Mavericks for a minor groin strain. Likely will miss a few games. And I don't even know what a few games is to Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis seems to always be missing time.
Pro basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
I know exactly what Patriot Nation is screaming this morning. It's Drake May time. Give him the trophy. MVP. Stop it, please. Just sit down. Yes, Drake May has had a nice season. But let's be real. He has played a JV schedule of defenses. He is carving up the easiest slate of defenses in the NFL this season. Congratulations on your beatdown of the Jets.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, folks, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports Today. Matt and Joe with you here. Sam Y, the sports guy, our producer behind the glass. Remember, it's smarter to be on SportsGrid, and we're about to show you why. All right, so the group has put together a list, thank you, Joey P, of players that have incentives. Now, incentives are these little perks built into their contracts, contingencies. If this happens, then this. Joe has a few built into his contract. If he can withstand working with me for X amount of weeks, he gets a bump in pay, things like that. Sam, if he pushes the right button to let him out of that little glass box that he sits in, but in which he sits, pardon me. But here we go. Let's talk. Khalil Shakir has some incentives, and I want you to tell me which one is going to be the most likely one. And then, folks, you go out to your favorite book and find it. 8 receptions will get him 150,000 yards. A touchdown will get $150,000, not 150,000 yards. He doesn't want 8 receptions for $150,000. A touchdown gets him another 150. 2 touchdowns gets him another 150. Which one is most likely?
Well, I mean, it's always easier to get a touchdown, right? Because that's a one-off. Right. But by the way, Matt's embarrassment with the possibility of finishing a sentence in a preposition was just marvelous. I just want to slow clap that. Like, he was so...
my incentive.
Oh, my God. The English teacher that sat over you in your youth would be so proud of you. Oh, my God. That was an amazing television moment that only I will care about. But yeah, let's talk about this. What's most likely? The touchdown's most likely because it's the easiest for him to get. And if you get to that red zone area, even a big touchdown play, Khalil Shakir has that opportunity. 8 receptions, going to be tricky because he's only hit that number one time all year. Really? Believe it or not, it was against the Houston Texans of all defenses, right? So 10 targets in that game, 8 receptions. But it is week 18, and it is the New York Jets. So I think both of these are in play. So if you want to bet the touchdown, you get the nice return. But if you want to put them together in a little duo bet, I think that's a good idea because, look, we don't really have a lot of guys to throw the football to in Buffalo. You know, Dalton Kincaid hovers around there. Palmer was a bust this year. God forbid they give Josh Allen a real weapon, right? I mean, can we get Josh Allen in the offseason a real weapon, please, for the love of God? But Khalil Shakir, I would imagine he probably gets $150K bonus on one of those two at least. So I think to have some stake and investment on them would make a lot of sense today because that Jets defense is quick. I mean, that team, done. Aaron Glenn probably done, I think, one and done here. And it looks like Pete Carroll might be one and done also. So you're going to have a lot of turnover. There could be as many as 8 or 9 vacancies at the end of Monday when we come around to Black Monday here tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye on that. It could be as few as 4 or 5, but it could be double that potentially, which is almost a third of the league at the end of the day.
Hey, teams, I know you're watching. Consider Joe Pisapia at the very least as a consultant. And I'm not kidding. I really am not. I really think that we're in a day and age of analytics and just not having the pressures of working for a team. A lot of your insight with football and with baseball, and I know the fantasy black book for baseball is out. You're starting to have the discussions. Your insights are very, very valuable. And I just wish that teams would start to recruit from this field because I think a guy like you would be wonderful. All right. I think you parlay the anytime touchdown. Maybe you move the receptions here or there and you try to make some money along with Khalil Shakir. Let's move on to Tony Pollard, another guy I've had my eye on this week. 66 rushing yards will net him $250,000, and 2 rushing touchdowns will get him $200,000. So he's sitting on the precipice of nearly $500,000 day. What goes on here?
Well, what goes on is this trend line that we've seen. So since week 14, it's like somebody woke up and realized, oh, wow, I got some incentives in my contract here. I need to get the football more, right? 161 rushing yards in week 14 against the Cleveland Browns, 104 week 15 against San Francisco 49ers, 102 against Kansas City, and then against New Orleans, 85. All right. So this week, Jacksonville's a good defense. We know this. But do we really think that Tony Pollard's not going to work and do everything he possibly can to get a 66 yards here so he can get over this hump? I mean, I think he's going to. To me, this is the best one on the board, $250,000. That's a lot of money here just for that. The 2 rushing touchdowns, I think, are going to be much tougher unless Jacksonville just completely pulls everybody and just says, no, you know what, we're just not into this game here at a certain point. But I think that is a tougher sell for me. But you're right, $500,000 at stake on a Sunday. I don't know about you, but I would be motivated, especially as a running back on Tony Pollard, who, running backs don't last in the league as long. You got to get your money every single chance you can. And this is a big spot here. $250K is a big one. So I'm going to look for Tony Pollard with this over here in this rushing total for sure.
And believe me, I'll tell you from experience, each and every one of these guys are aware of their contracts. If they're not, then these are the guys that are making way too much money, and Tony Pollard isn't there yet. So believe me, he is aware. Another guy that I believe is aware is Hunter Henry at the tight end position for New England. 5 catches will net Hunter Henry $250,000. What do you say, Joe?
Look, $250,000 is a lot of money. 5 receptions is a small number. I think Drake May is going to try to funnel this in here. And you've still got some injuries in that wide receiver group, too, where Hunter Henry should work in this game. It's a good matchup against the Miami Dolphins as well. So this is another one, too, the strong over. And usually, I like to bet the yards more than the receptions on a player because you give yourself more outs. That one big play can get you that number. But I think Drake May will be aware of this. I'm sure Hunter Henry will be aware of this. 5 catches for $250. That sounds like a pretty good lock to me. I think, again, Hunter Henry tries to get this one, and you're going to see a lot of him getting some targets in this game as well.
Idea for a story. High-profile player is X amount of something away from an incentive, but the coach is carrying water for ownership. What happens?
No.
All right, Joe, you're going to write it. All right, here we go. Deebo Samuel, wide receiver for Washington. 10 receptions will get Deebo $200,000. 83 receiving yards will get him another $200,000. How does Deebo Samuel make $400,000 today?
I don't think he does. I don't see this one happening on either side. So want to throw it out there because it is some big money here potentially. The 10 reception seems impossible to me. But the 83 receiving yards, not impossible. So we'll see how that goes. But again, we're playing with third-string quarterbacks here in Week 18. Like, this is just where we are. So I think this one is probably the most unlikely of all of them to happen. I think the Tony Pollard one and the yardage is the most likely, followed closely by Hunter Henry. So if you're looking to cherry pick a couple of these and just go right in for them, I think the Henry one and the Pollard one are good. Shakir is a little bit of a push there, a little bit of a stretch, but not unattainable as well. So these are important things, and these players are not just playing for the team, they're playing for themselves, and they're playing for cash. So keep that in mind when you're trying to look ahead to Week 18 and what's going on here. Matt Striker, when we come back, we're going to put a bow on this thing. Can you believe it? We're going to talk about some head coaches that might not be employed, and we're going to talk about the 3 things to look for in Week 18 when we come back right after this.
it's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, yeah, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Crosby has now left the team, by the way. He's pissed. Anyway, look at it, he's angry. He wants to play. He doesn't like what they're doing here. There's all sort of speculation.
This might be the final straw, George, for him there. Like, I don't know why he stays. Yeah, I know. The thing is, he's got a Raider freaking tattoo. Like, the guy loves the Raiders. Like, he really does love playing for the Raiders. But and now, like you said, he's not happy about this.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back into FST Fantasy Sports today. Matt and Joe with you here. And as I understand it, Joe, you've got some breaking news?
Yeah, I do. So not only is Devon Achane out, but also you're going to miss Breece Hall in this game as well this Week 18. So Breece Hall out. Also for the Dolphins, speaking of Devon Achane, no Jalen Waddle as well. So no Waddle, no Achane. Poor Quinn Ewers going to New England. So, it's going to be a rough day at the office, I think, for the Miami Dolphins. And we'll see if Mike McDaniel holds his job or not. And we'll do the 3 and out. And maybe I'll throw some coaching vacancies potentially out there, get Matt Striker's point of view on who's going to be in and who's going to be out this time tomorrow.
All right, I like it. And just a quick tip of the cap from a past life. I just want to say congratulations to Japanese wrestling legend Hiroshi Tanahashi over in Tokyo. He has officially retired after an amazing career. So fare thee well, Ace, and thank you for all the matches. Joey P, I'm sure when your career is done, you'll have a farewell match, and I think all the people will rush to social media to post pictures about it and say how you one of the ace, the greatest of all time. All right, here we go. 3 and out. 3 things that Joey P is looking forward to while I do some X's and O's for Joe's team. What do you need, bud?
Well, look, AFC, certainly the number 1 seed still up for grabs. Certainly the New England Patriots have a path laid out for them against the Miami Dolphins. It seems pretty good. But Denver also has one that looks pretty good as well. So Denver most likely will hold on to that. But you never know. It is the NFL. Crazy things happen. We'll see what happens, which brings us to number 2, which is spoilers. Something will go cockeyed. Something will go astray. Something will go wrong that's been in Week 18. We see it every single year. Now, what that is, I don't know if any of us really know, but when you have so many players who are normally the starters not playing, and you have so many new combinations, you have things pop off that you never thought would happen. You have names that show up that have huge days that you'd never even heard of, not even us. Okay, who do this for a living. We look up at the television and go, who? Who is that? You're going to see that. It's Week 18. So a lot of weird things are going to happen here, and this is why you don't play your fantasy championship. So congratulations to all that won last week, and even if you made it to the playoffs or to the championship, that's the goal. Fantasy football, get to the playoffs. Anything can happen there. So if you made the playoffs, that's a successful season. If you made it to the championship, very successful. And if you won the whole damn thing, good for you. Thanks for being with us all year long. And then the last thing is that Baltimore-Pittsburgh game. Now, I gave my take, which Matt knows The last thing I want is Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. But I just think the Pittsburgh Steelers find a way to win that game. So, Matt, what's your take on this Pittsburgh-Baltimore matchup?
I think the Steelers win, and then they lose in the first round of the playoffs. But overall, I want to see the Steelers in part and parcel just because of how much I care for you, and I know your vitriol towards Aaron Rodgers. But just the other week we were talking about the Phillip Rivers thing, and we brought up George Foreman, and we brought up Randy Couture. Aaron Rodgers is one of the old guys, and independent of his views and all the other things that people may be away from, you're rooting for the human spirit and the human form. And I know you'll roll your eyes and tell me I'm drinking the ayahuasca. I can't even pronounce it, nonetheless participate in it. But I just think it shows that football is one of the games where the old guys usually can't and don't excel. And it's nice when you see a guy like Aaron Rodgers just kind of helping that along. I'm an older guy, Joe.
Look, Phillip Rivers, yes, I'm rooting for him. Always rooting for Phillip Rivers when he came back. Aaron Rodgers, no, I'm not going to root for him. Let's talk about head coaching vacancies. Let's play a little lightning round, shall we? Okay. Jonathan Gannon, the Arizona Cardinals, his winning percentage is 300. Does he come back next year, yes or no?
That would all depend on what the team wants to do at quarterback, but I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no as well. Raheem Morris, Atlanta Falcons, 455 winning percentage. He is 15-18 in the last couple of years. I don't know if he comes back. I think he is on the brink as well.
I do also because of the talent on that team and the expectations year over year. It just hasn't panned out. So I'm with you on that. More?
Zach Taylor, Cincinnati Bengals, a 457 winning percentage. Yes, they got to a Super Bowl, but the last couple of years have been brutal. I say he goes. I think it's time for just a major shakeup in Cincinnati across the board. I think GM goes as well. That's where I'm at. Kevin Stefanski.
Go ahead.
Well, sounds like Joe Burrow's not happy with anything right now. I think the idea is keep Joe Burrow happy if you want to keep him in Cincinnati. Cleveland Browns, Stefanski, 44-56 over his career since 2020. A good head coach, but terrible circumstances. I say he goes too.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to agree with you there. That is not the desirable position at all.
Yeah, Las Vegas Raiders, we talked about Pete Carroll likely being gone here and a few other ones as well. I think McDaniel looks like he's going to stay here, but New York Giants looking for a head coach. I think the Jets will be looking for a head coach again. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, the loser of the Sunday night game is somewhere else next year coaching. I don't know. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. We'll see you next time.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way, and it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York, and now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, running gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on...
Pro football today, one final time in the regular season here on Sports.